Electricast.
AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts. It knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief. And it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI. It's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire wrong. So then I'm doing IT, and when I go to plug the servers in, they become sentient, and they won't let us access our network unless we forward their chain emails and memes to more and more and more people, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant finds and invites best fit candidates to apply, so you can discover talent you may have missed. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
Welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design, where we celebrate women who are shaping their lives one extraordinary day at a time. I'm your host, Ashleigh Kilcup, self-care coach for women who are ready to make self-care a priority to support them in life and business. Every week, I'll be speaking with inspiring women from various walks of life who will share their personal journeys and will discover how they have fearlessly carved their own paths as business owners, passionately pursuing their dreams and creating a meaningful impact on their communities. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome to Extraordinary Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Ashleigh Gaudet, and today I am really excited to be speaking with my next guest, Ashleigh Kilcup. Ashleigh is a trusted advisor and strategist with over 15 years of experience helping women in ownership and senior management positions excel in their male-dominated industries. With a strong background in commercial real estate, including finance, legal, and business consulting, Ashleigh specializes in helping navigate the human side of things. She does this by simplifying the playing field and quieting the noise so that her clients can execute like the boss they are, without all the churn, through her Simplified Success Method. Ashleigh, I am so happy to have you on the show today, so welcome.
Why, thank you.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm excited because we are recently connected, I guess in the last year of, getting to know each other, almost a year. Like, it's weird how I can say, like, it's been quite a few months, but I love how we got connected and how then once we started talking, just one day out of the blue decided, like, let's be accountability partners and just in life, really, because we went beyond what we were doing before and we just decided to continue our conversation. So I really love that I got to meet you. So I just wanted to put a little plug of that out there, just, how we met and just that I'm grateful,
Same. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think, we connected because we talked to really similar people, but we show up in different ways. And I love that.
Yeah, I do as well. So I want to get into the questions because I really love what you do. And as you had said, we are similar, but we are a little bit different. And I think that's okay. I think that's beautiful, actually, because I feel like we complement each other in different ways. But let's get to what you do, because you've spent over 15 years advising women in male-dominated industries, from commercial real estate to legal and finance. So can you share what led you to create the Simplified Success Method and what makes this approach different from traditional business consulting?
So how it came to be was really my own unraveling. And as I say, I don't know if this is culturally appropriate still, but I say I went kamikaze. Like, I didn't go quietly into the night. I burnt out in wild fashion. And it was really how I showed up in that, where it's like, yeah, it was a super unhealthy environment. Sure. It was how I showed up, what I said, what I did that really kind of jarred me and got my attention. And so that was when I started really exploring these different things. And I've gone down lots of different rabbit holes. But really what I have found is it's really about doing less but better and knowing which things to focus on, when, and how. And then things just start getting easier. What I find, and then I started, obviously I had to help myself first. And then I started working with clients to do the same thing. And so then you start seeing the patterns, right, that show up for everybody. And really, and again, I think this is where you and I have overlap. It starts with that self-mastery piece, right? Is really like, yeah. There's so much stuff going on, but what's happening for you that matters? Like, what's happening for you that you're triggered? And then really slowing down that moment and like looking at the parts and pieces. So like, I kind of think about it like coaching like a sport, right? Like I was way better at golf before I learned how to play golf, because then there was like 42,000 things I'm supposed to do at the same time while I swing. I was better off when I didn't know that, right? So, but what I do is just kind of guide through the process by asking questions. So it's like my clients can show up and all they have to do is be like, I don't like something. And then I can explore it through. And then we just decide what things we're going to move forward with. And almost all of the stuff just falls away. So it's just like simplifying. Then we map out the patterns that we have with other people and the ones that they show up with, right? Because we're all doing our own thing. Everybody all the time is focused on themselves. And so realizing that most of what they're doing isn't actually about you. Like the conversation I had last week, right? They're doing their own thing. They're having their own experience. And so when we can tap into that, which is way easier after we've mapped ourselves, then it's easier to give them what they're looking for to get the result that you ultimately want. Mm-hmm. And these are really small tweaks. It's like how we say something, when we say something, making sure that you understand. Like my husband's a great example. I'm like a let's just dive in person, right? I mean, I'm ready to talk deep anytime, any place, just say it. And my husband needs a little bit more time to prepare himself. And so, we've been together now like 23 years. I need to look at how, okay, I want to have this conversation with him. I could be impulsive and just throw it out there the way I want to do it, but it's not about how I want it. It's about how he needs it so that I can get the outcome I want, right? And so when we slow those things down and really understand just the humans underneath it all, it's actually, we're much simpler than how we present, because we show up in this story of how everything is supposed to be. And then the other thing I think you asked me was like, how is it different? Mm-hmm. Pretty much everything that I do, that I share, is the opposite of the advice we've been given. So, it's really about kind of, I think of it like we pull it out, we hold it under the light, right? The light of truth. It's not about what I believe or what you believe. It's what's true for them. And I can see it when we're coaching and catch it in the tone of their voice, their posture, all of that is like when something starts ringing with their truth. And it's typically the things that we want to hide because they're what make us different and odd and all of that. So I just start highlighting those pieces and it puts together this beautiful tapestry. But mostly it's like we've all been trying to fit in. But that's why we feel unseen. That's why we feel disempowered. And so rather than trying to control everything around us, it's really about stepping into control and ownership of who we are and how we show up. And from that place, everything shifts.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that's why I think we really, I think we align so well, because we both talk about like, it's not what everyone else expects. And it's really about the opposite. Like I always have pushed back. I really started pushing back a few years ago for myself, just around the belief systems around different things. And I just thought, no, like that, why does that have to be true? That could be someone's truth, but why does it have to be mine? So I love the fact that you talk about that, which is where I wanted to actually transition to something, because you wanted to touch on something today, what you called the ache of incongruence, which is, I believe, a powerful phrase, really, that many high-performing women will resonate with. So what does this ache really look like in action, and how does it show up in the day-to-day decisions we make?
Yeah. So the ache is really that feeling of, you get to a certain point, you feel like you've done it, right? Like you've done the things you're supposed to do and you've gotten to a certain position or whatnot. And yet somehow when you look around, none of it feels like yours. And it's like, where am I in all this? One of the saddest things that happens over and over again is, one of the first questions I'm asking when we're starting out is, what do you want? Why are we here? What do you want to do? Right? And how often the answer to that is, I don't know. And that is very solvable. But, if you come in and you've got like, this is what I want to accomplish, great, you know? And also, I'm going to be, again, always looking for that ring of truth and challenging, like you said, just like challenging, is this yours? And do you want to keep carrying it? There's a lot of stuff that when we actually decide that I'm done carrying that doesn't mean I don't do it, but I'm not going to like hold that responsibility and that weight of it with me. I'm going to allow it to be. So it's the energetics of it, really. And then what I found for myself is, it's kind of that like, if I stop holding it so tightly, now it can become what it was trying to become the whole time. And I felt like, oh, this isn't working. And the truth is, I was trying to push it. So, like, a lot of times what I think about for myself is push versus pull. Am I calling it in or am I trying to force it? That's a good filter for like, oh, and trust me, like, I'm doing it again, right? Like, that's my go-to response to anything is I want to make it happen. I want to make it happen now. And that really is about, and why male-dominated field, right? Like these industries, there's a reason that we were attracted to them, myself included. Like I wanted to play at that level. I wanted to be in, I don't know, in this like aggressive environment, honestly, and prove myself that I was smart enough, tough enough, all those things. And then it's like, kind of like, what am I doing? Right? What am I fighting for? And so that ache can be felt a lot of different ways. Typically, it's that moment when you realize that most of the things you've got going on in your life were not like choices that you intentionally made. And then, once you feel it, and there's an astrological component to this, right? There's the Uranus opposition. So what looks like midlife often, as we're approaching 40 and thereafter, there's actually like an astrological, like burn the shit that's not working for you anymore. And so I find that's pretty common. But the first time that we bump into this, or my clients typically do, and I did also, was leading other people. So leadership, entrepreneurship, and parenting are going to be the things that show you where your shit is, right? Really is looking at when we bump into things, are we making it bad or are we making it feedback? And if we can shift that angle and really think like, oh, okay, this is showing me that this isn't aligned for me in some way, or I need to move differently with it. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, we've talked about this earlier before we got on to record today. We've talked about this the last time we were talking because we talk weekly.
Mhm.
And it's the control piece, right? That's part of it because we're trying to control everything. And that is just because we live in this world of all of this success gets shown to us through, especially if you're on social media, if you are watching what other people are doing, if you are in an industry where it's male dominated, where a lot of that is focusing on the productivity, like what are you doing? What are you doing? How are you like succeeding? And that it can be really super, I guess, crazy environment where you feel like you have to control everything. And I've learned, which you've even said too, because we've talked about this, that the releasing of control of everything is what brings more peace and brings more, I think, better results when we're not trying to control everything, right? But I think is that we
Totally.
think
Yeah.
we have to.
Well, and like you said, it's like releasing of control. Actually, it's the recognition that we only think we have control and it's actually a total illusion. Like what's going to happen is going to happen. How hard we fight against it is really what we're calling control, right? And really I think about it like the yin and the yang. So the yin is really like in the feminine and it is in the receiving and the magnetic pull. And the yang is the action, the forcefulness, all of that. Our society has just over-indexed that it's yang that gets things done, right? But the truth is, the reason why that symbol has been around for centuries and still is It's both. And it's when we bring things into harmony and we can let both be. So there is a time for yin and there's a time for yang. And knowing what works for you and what you're here to do is really about getting into the flow of life.
Yeah, absolutely. I truly believe that. Well, I want to actually talk about another aspect that you wanted to bring up was the nervous system, because this is something we both talk a lot about in
Mhm.
what we both do. So let's talk about for women who are in high stakes leadership roles, because I know you have worked with a lot of women like that. So we know the nervous system can often silently be carrying the load of everything, whether it's other people's emotions, whether it's, your own trying to like control everything, how I want to from your perspective, get your take on how our nervous system influences how we as women lead, how we make decisions, and how we recover, and what some of those hidden signs are of dysregulation. I know you're going to have a
Yeah.
beautiful answer for this.
Oh, I mean, we'll see. So, like when I think about the nervous system, it's all throughout, and I think people talk about the nervous system without really understanding it. So our brain is part of the nervous system, and really, I think when I think of the nervous system and how it shows up in our leadership, it's when do we feel safe, right, to show up fully, to show up in our wholeness. And as a leader, that means, giving difficult feedback, receiving difficult feedback. When do you trigger into, and I hope that everyone who's listening can understand this feeling, but for me, the way I feel it in my body, and this is true for most of my clients too, but everyone's allowed to have their own experience. I feel this flash that I feel it flash across my nervous system. And then I know what that means. And everything then from that point on is the autonomic nervous system. It's happening automatically. So what we have is the conscious versus the subconscious. And we think we're walking through this world making so many conscious decisions. But the truth is, we make very few. We do most things on habit. That's why when we're trying to change any habit, it is so stinking difficult, because it is moved from our conscious thinking into our subconscious. And that's what's running the show. It's also what's running the show for signaling safety, right? And this is about survival. And so we will do as a species whatever it is we need to do, or as an individual, to survive. And so that really, like you said, it has been programmed from our childhood and whatever we experienced and how we received it. One of the really beautiful things when I did my trauma certificate was understanding that trauma is not allowed for a specific set of events, right? Like it's not qualified in that way. Trauma is qualified by too much, too fast for that person, right? So no one gets to say whether or not an experience was traumatizing. This was one of a pretty big, I would say, learning that I had to have with my mom. She used to tell me whether or not I was allowed to feel a certain way. And I would say she still does from time to time. And I just say, hey, you don't get to tell me how I feel, right? And that is an example of something that could be very triggering. But actually, I just know my pattern. I know her pattern, right? And my boundary is you don't get to tell me how I feel. How I feel is actually defined by me. And whether or not I'm being kooky dook is whatever, right? You can deal with that how you deal with that. But what I won't allow is for you to tell me that I'm feeling something or not feeling something. Typically, it's the minimizing of feelings, right? So, and I watch her do it on other people. And when she's in conversation with me, she's not allowed to do that. And so what's happened is our conversations got a hell of a lot healthier. So,
Yeah, that's
anyways,
important.
yeah. So the nervous system, when I think about it, it does a bajillion things. But the way I'm thinking about it is when we're triggering into certain behaviors that have kept us safe in the past. And really, our job is to learn where those triggers are. If you think about kind of like walking through a landmine field, right? And especially when you're dealing with leadership, if you are in a high trigger environment, this is always true. So then rather than be like pissed that we're in a landmine field, is to just accept that that's true. And so our job is to really like pay attention, neutralize the path, right? Like again, it's like control what we can control and decide what we want to trigger against. And so what I've done for myself and what happens for all of my clients is we map. First thing we map, we don't make anything right or wrong. Where are the triggers? Then we decide, is that something we want to keep carrying forward? And it's a yes or a no. Typically, we don't want to have triggers, right? Some of them we don't get to decide. Like that it's so deep in us that it will always be part of our pattern. And then it's really just about like having compassion towards that. That's there. We're not making it wrong. And we just need to know, like, if this, then that. I'm not going to trigger into that pattern. I'm going to respond like this. And again, this is where our work overlaps again, which is we do it by taking care of ourselves. We give ourselves compassion in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I also feel like it takes a lot of self-awareness, and it's not just like overnight that you start doing this, but you have to start somewhere. So even if it is recognizing maybe there's no change, but you recognize this is the way you are, this is the way you're wired, and being okay with that. Okay, then taking another look and seeing how it's, because for me, I feel like a lot of the time when we respond, especially if you're in high pressure situations, if we find ourselves being more reactive than proactively responding in the way that we want to. We think about how we want to, we would have liked to after the fact. But when we get into those reactive trigger moments, it's really just being okay, well, this is what happened. And that's why some of the things I do is I say, like, write it down, what happened, so you can keep a record of it and then go back and review it and say, okay, how could I have responded differently? And the only way you're going to learn is by repetition. So it might happen a few more times, and it's okay. We're human, right? We're meant to have these moments.
And let me just really quick to wrap that one up. I would say also, if someone's like wondering, like, is this happening for me? Just know that the nervous system, the trigger we're talking about is that fight, flight, or fawn, freeze, fawn. So those are the different responses that you will feel. So I'm a fighter. So what I will feel is like the physical urge to fight. Okay. But my husband is a freezer and a fawner, right? And that's okay. It's just when I see that flash across his eyes, I know where we're at. And so that's like, I would say, the cue to look out for in those certain environments. And like for my women, it's an aggressive environment, right? And let's be clear, and we chose it. So like, what's up with that, right? Like, what are we healing? But yeah, so I think that's important distinction.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to talk about the pressures of us as women, because I know, well, you're a mom. I'm not a mom, but I know you have 2 young children and you are also married quite a long time. You are juggling your clients, you're juggling your family life, you are trying to balance everything out well. So that word balance, right? To balance it all. I think there's a lot of pressure on women to do that, but it can feel sometimes, well, maybe most times, unrealistic to achieve that type of balance, or to achieve balance, I should say. So how do you reframe that idea of balance for your clients? And what does strategic focus look like for them instead when they have that crystal clear thought, like what their priorities are, so they can actually have, for lack of a better word, that balance that they're looking for?
Yeah. So I think it's interesting when people talk about balance, because really a lot of what they're looking at is outside of them, right? Like balancing my family with my work. Well, where are you in that? Right? It's like what I can do for you and what I can do for you. So I think that that's probably like that we need to, the foundation of having balance is yourself. Am I feeling rested? Am I feeling nourished? Am I able to be the best version of myself? When we talk about like the triggers, right? For me, I was part of a group last year and we did this morning study, which was fantastic. I actually just really loved it. And they were on the East Coast. So it started at 7 a.m. Totally reasonable if you're on the East Coast. 3 of us were on the West Coast. And so that's 4 a.m., right? And so I was waking up at 3:45. And my children right now, my daughter just turned 6, my son's 8. So they're a little bit younger. I'm waking up at 3:45 in the morning to meditate and have this book study group where we were going through this Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill and just really like dissecting it. Like not just reading, for the gold star to get to the end, but like, do I understand that? Am I really integrating that and letting it saturate my being? Which is so good. What was surprising to me was a couple things. One, I loved being up that early and actually getting some time back to myself since becoming a mom. I wake up to my kids like climbing on me, sometimes whacking me, it's just like, whoa. And so just having some time and space for myself in the morning, I found incredibly nourishing, even if it was at an ungodly hour. The other piece was showing up for myself first. That really shifted me in terms of, it's one of those things like, if I can do this, what else can I do? Right. And so when I'm working with my clients and they're like kind of frustrated dealing with this idea of self-trust, trusting other people, which just like love, it's based on trusting yourself first. Do you trust how you show up in those situations? So what we do, the fastest path is always going to be a morning routine. So I don't care what you do, decide, say when you're going to do it, and then try to do it and see what comes up. Really, I think what people find more often than not is then they struggle and they think, oh my gosh, I'm just not good at this, or, I'm a failure, or whatever, shitty comments we make to ourselves inside our own head. And the truth is, well, no, it's showing you where the obstacle is. So we can either solve for X, we just need every system's working perfectly. So our job is just to tweak the system, right? So like if I get in my car and it doesn't turn on or my blinker stops working, I don't go like, oh my God, I'm a failure, right? The car's broken. The system's broken. I just need to get it fixed. And as women, listen, we didn't come this way. We got told that we need to hold it all for everybody, and everything is like, that's our job, right? Is to hold that space for everyone. And there's a piece of that that's true. We are powerful and we are able to hold incredible things. We're not meant to hold everything. So I think in our conversations, Leslie, one of the things that I would say in most conversations I have with most people, the thing that really stands out is I'm like, yeah, I don't do that. I don't make dinner. There's no like, oh my God, what am I going to make for dinner? I don't worry about it. I'll feed my kids, right? Like they will get fed. I'm not trying to be like some big homemaker. That's not part of my identity. Or my husband will take care of it. I just haven't taken that on as mine. And so again, it's really about like, when we're looking at balance, is it yours? Do you want it? Is there another way to solve this problem?
Yeah. Well, and speaking of identity, because you brought that in, because you work with women in very high pressure, mostly male dominated industries, I know that many women feel, especially in roles where they are top leadership, CEOs, CFOs, whatever leadership role that they are within, where they're leading a team, where they're reporting to a higher up, whatever that looks like. A lot of the time, conformity is expected. I know we talked about congruence and how that, the expectations of ourselves, like what we expect for our lives, and are we doing those things in alignment with that? But how can women, especially in those situations, hold their ground and lead effectively in those positions without muting who they are to fit in?
Yeah. So one, I think that a lot of people, when they first come to me, they want confidence, right? And confidence is like the etymology on it is self-trust. It's I can trust myself in that situation. And trust, as we know, isn't something that we just like get. You have to really earn it and establish it with yourself and with other people. So I think of it like, I don't know why, but this is always my analogy, like lacquer. You can't just like pour an inch of lacquer down, right? You have to put it on in layers. And so what that is really showing up for yourself consistently. So I think of it like mini revolutions, right? Like, let's say that I had really take on this homemaker role and I make dinner every night and I don't want to anymore. So the first thing I'm going to do is decide that. The second thing I'm going to do is have that conversation with the other people who might be impacted. So, my husband, my kids, whatever. Then I'm going to make a plan for how to get myself out of that responsibility and role without being like, I'm not just going to run away from home. Right? So is it we buy different things? Is it we adjust the expectation? What are we doing? Right? So you just kind of take it head on. Same thing in a corporate environment. So let's say that you have like a pretty common thing is that in corporations, we get into these habits of producing reports or this or that. And as people get higher up, they either don't know or don't care how much workload that is on everyone. So it's really about removing the waste. Like, is anyone even reading the report? Let's get real. Could it be, like when I first started at the first development company that I worked at, we were producing these investor reports. So we have investors, right, that put money into the projects that we're building. And then we report back to them. Obviously, that needs to happen. We're not like, we're going to like stop. Like, thanks for the money. We'll see you later. We'll let you know when you get it back. But does anybody care that we're pumping out 20-page reports for every property? No. Is it actually show more professionalism for us to distill down the information for what they actually give a shit about? Yeah. So we reduce those down to 2 pages. Easier for everyone to report, like way less churn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And nobody even noticed because they weren't reading them anyways. So we're still being responsible. We're still doing what needs to happen. But could we like lighten the load on every project across the portfolio?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And one of the things too that I was thinking about as you were talking about what a report could look like, it's a lot of reading and time is so precious. And if you're like, okay, well, I want to know what's going on, but what in here is really important for me to know? I need to know what maybe like timeline, if there was a timeline that you were talking about and what the ROI on that timeline is expected to be and how you're projecting your numbers and all of those things. Those are the things that they want to know. They don't care about like, well, we're doing this and we're seeing like it's better if we switch over to this. They don't care about that. They care that you're doing what you said that you're going to do and you're just reporting back how it's going. And that's kind of really it. And I love that. So I love that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's really about, and I went through a similar thing with my own coaching. I used to meet with my people weekly. And then I was like, you know what? They don't want more of my time. They want the result. So then I tweaked how I meet with them so that we're on Marco Polo, right? So that's like a constant communication. And then we have 2 deeper sessions. So we can actually like, I'm mapping the patterns and then we dig in like on one of them and we get it to resolution by the end of the call. And so it's like, it wasn't about more time. It was about more intentionality. So, I mean, what I want you to like, it's the less but better.
Yeah.
Like, how do we up-level the quality by doing less, right? And it's by making tough decisions earlier.
Yeah, I love that. Well, final question. So I decided for season 4 to start that this year would be all about the self-led year where you're not just learning phases of life, like things to do with your life, but you're actually in the actions part of it, which you mentioned earlier. Like we have to still take action. It's not all about consuming and never doing anything because information is only powerful when you put it into action. And a lot of people don't realize that. And we know that action is crucial for change to take effect. So with that being said, I wanted to start this year from that leadership perspective and why have you on the show today for this particular series around leadership. So what's one belief or principle that keeps you, because I want to bring this back to you, keeps you grounded in your leadership as a woman who leads your clients, their companies when you go in and you have the interaction with them or your one-to-ones, and one habit that you would recommend for other women who want to start their year rooted in alignment rather than overdrive? Like, what keeps you grounded? And then what would you recommend for other women that could help them start this new year that's coming up? Not from that, I feel like we get so involved that it's a brand new year, the clock goes back to zero, we're starting over. And I want them to be more rooted in alignment, to have a different perspective on their life. Like, it doesn't have to be like the old. You know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm asking?
There's a few things that come in for me. One is, I just hold a very strong belief that everything's working out perfectly. Sometimes it doesn't feel good, but I have to know that what's happening is trying to show me something. And so when I run into friction, is like, what am I meant to learn? How am I meant to do this different? I know that I have a unique perspective because literally everyone I talk to tells me that, right? Like, whoa, that's like, I think about things different. I see the world differently. And so I love sharing that, especially with women who feel their power deep inside of them. And somehow it's like not showing up that way in their life, right? And so even I've just been Voxering with a gal that I was on that retreat down by you, and her and I had a conversation, and she was going to ditch all of her clients because she's like, I'm just so over client work. And I'm like, tell me about that. Right? Like, that feels like a big deal. You're basically going to blow your business up. And with not an excellent game plan, and she doesn't really have a safety net of family. So, I can't make those decisions for her, but I'm certainly going to show her what I see. So we're having that conversation. Turns out she has one mean client. She had taken on a client that sucked. And so I was like, just fire her. She's like, well, this, that, the other. Anyways, I planted the seed. She didn't like it. I was like, totally cool. And then she voxed me last week, and she had a conversation with that woman. She's like, same thing. I couldn't get your words out of my head. I fired her. I go, how did it feel? And she's like, so good. I can't, like, there aren't words to describe, even though that was a huge piece of her income, the freedom and the power of stepping into that. And I was like, yeah, you did. So that's the key, right? Is like having those things. And so I know that because I create those experiences literally all the time for people because I see things different. So that's my gift. The other piece of it is I just think I'm the sun, right? SUN. So I am the energy source, and I beam out love. And that is what everybody in this world needs more of. And so, yeah, love will melt away all the issues that we have. That's not to say that, you just go around like hugging people, right? But it's that kindness, it's that love, all of that. And so I just try to create an aura of that around me, and then good things happen, and I don't worry about it. What was the second half of what you said?
Yeah, I
What
just
would I
wanted to
tell
know.
other people?
Yeah, like what would you have like especially I know you work with both men and women, but
Mhm.
because this podcast is for women,
Yeah.
what would you a habit that you would recommend other women who want to start their year rooted in alignment rather than overdrive? So like rather than them I really feel like we're just always trying to like one up everything all the time. We're always like
Okay,
on
I'll give you a
fire.
good
That's
one.
okay. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Yeah.
So one of the things that I do every year, so, I don't drink, right? That all started, it was like a series of different things that were in my environment. I always say, like, I didn't do anything awesome, like run down the street naked. It was just like one of those things where, like, I don't actually think this is that good for me. And we wanted to support someone who was an alcoholic who had quit drinking. And so it was like in solidarity. Anyways, I make these ideas of like, what's something that I feel like has its hooks in me, right? Like, I don't necessarily choose it, and I abstain from it for a year. I also, and I think this is way bigger than, choosing to take something away, right? Like, I don't care what it is, you pick. So, like, the one I'm debating about for next year is ice cream, because God, I love ice cream. So I did alcohol, and then I never brought it back. Now, last year, I did my 3 kryptonites for food, which is lattes, because I had worn a continuous glucose monitor and it was spiking it. So lattes, pizza, and scones. Those are like my 3 favorite foods. And so I just didn't eat them for a year. So the way I do that is I start before the end of the year. I don't know why, but it feels like it takes something away from the holidays to do it during that time. But so I do December 27th. And then before the year's even started, I have my momentum. There's something about having a streak that you don't want to break.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
while I was down in Cancun, I lost a 255-day streak in Duolingo. And they're like, you can pay to re-up the streak, like to unfreeze your streak. And I'm like, isn't that cheating? Like, I didn't do it.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah. But just like that lacquer, every time you do the thing you said you would do, you are putting down another layer of lacquer. For whatever it is, just be the person you say you are. And anytime you're not, pay attention to that. What's up? What happened? Was that environmental? Was it systematic? Like, what was it? So that you can be more congruent with the person you want to be.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for that answer. I've really loved talking with you today. I love what you do. Like I said, we've known each other a few months now, and I love meeting with you on a weekly basis. Most of the time, have been times where we haven't been able to meet, but I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you and to have these talks that we have weekly just to support each other and to really talk about like not only life, but like what we can do. Like we're also helping each other. I really, really love our conversations. And I really enjoyed our conversation today. The things that you've shared, I really, truly believe are going to resonate with the people that are listening, the women that are listening, because I know you've just mentioned a lot of things. For me, when you talk about that knowing that flash across the nervous system, to me, that's like your inner canary. That's how I describe it. Like your inner voice, your inner knowing that's telling you. But also what I loved that you shared was that emotional intelligence piece around understanding it's not just about you, and it's about how you interact with other people and how they respond to you. So paying attention to their tells is really powerful. And I think that's important, and probably why you've got a lot of clients that are being able to like have those breakthroughs. And I also love the fact that you have that belief that, everything is happening perfectly, that there's either there's a lesson in there somewhere, even in the negatives, right? There's always a lesson in there. And I think it's important if we could but if we can just look at life as it's a journey, it's like this adventure that we're on, and we get to uncover some of the negatives and try to figure those things out to get to some of the really juicy, good parts that we're looking for. So I've enjoyed talking to you today. So thank you so much for joining me.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. And I adore you and am always so inspired by, the things that you do that I don't do well. And just like, yeah, you just show up and you are also living your work. And I think that's what we need more of in this world is people who are leading themselves first, right? And not having it be about any kind of command and control over other people. It's like when you do that, then that's really most of your job.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I truly appreciate you. Thank you so much. And to our listeners, if you'd like to connect with Ashleigh directly and learn more about her work, you can find her contact information in the show notes. Remember, self-leadership is the courage to stay rooted in what's aligned, even when everything else says to move faster. Let this be the year that you stop managing your pace and you start aligning with your path so that you can be in alignment with and have that congruence like Ashleigh was talking about so that you can actually live that life that you always wanted to live, that you've seen pockets of throughout your life, but maybe you just never really paid attention. So make sure that you start to have more wonder around the things that you're doing, be more curious about life, allow that everything is working perfectly, and then take a look at what you can learn from that so that it helps you to move forward. As I said, this is a self-led year. It's not just about learning, it's about taking action, and that's the most important piece of it all. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep designing your extraordinary life one day at a time. Thank you for joining me on Her Extraordinary Life by Design. I hope you've been inspired and empowered by the incredible stories shared on this show. If you enjoyed this episode and the conversations we've had, I would greatly appreciate if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback and support mean the world to me, and it will help others discover the podcast and join our empowering community. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Together, we can continue to learn from these amazing women, uncover their extraordinary journeys, and be motivated to create our own lives by design. Thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, stay empowered and keep shaping your extraordinary life one day at a time.
Hi, everyone. I'm Geraldine Glass, a leader in the field of music as medicine, and I'm excited to share with you my newest release of healing sound, Pentatonic Visions, with Chris Scholler and Electrocast Records. Immerse yourself in ethereal realms where the harmonies of nature, tribal rhythms, and soundscapes blend with the crystal singing bowls. It's out now, streaming on all platforms.
Hi, this is Jennifer Rizio. Are you ready to create more freedom in your life and your business? Join me and my amazing guest experts on Asked and Answered by Soul, where we discuss life, love, and business, and provide you with the answers to those really big questions. Who are you, really? Why are you here? And what does it all mean? Tune in wherever you listen to podcasts, and don't forget to share the magic with a friend.
Electricast.